This Cognos TM1 is a tool. It's a multi-dimensional tool, and you guys have heard about SAP and Hyperion, and this Cognos TM1 tool is owned by IBM. What used to happen is that in the prior versions, Cognos TM1 is held by a different company called the Cognos. And later to that, at a certain point of time, it was sold to IBM. Then IBM acquired the Cognos TM1. Later to that, they changed the name of TM1 to Planning Analytics. So nowadays, mostly IBM calls the Cognos TM1 as the Planning Analytics. It is enterprise software. Here we call IBM Planning Analytics or Cognos TM1 is a tool, but not a planning application. The reason for that being, generally tool means what we consider here in this context is that it will be used to do all kind of activities like extraction, transformation, and reporting. And it should not require another set of tools to do the modeling. So when I say modeling, in the sense when you have the raw data with you, you want to pull the insights out of the raw data, and from end it should depend upon by itself and should be able to provide you a picture of what the insights are inside that. So that is possible with planning analytics. So that's the reason we call it as a IBM planning analytics tool, or it is called as a Cognos TM1 tool. Cognos TM1 started its journey with version 7, and then it went to 7.5, 9, 9.5, 10, and later to the version 10, IBM came up with the different naming convention or nomenclature. Started saying, okay, let's start with the IBM Planning Analytics 10.1, 10.2. So now currently in the market, TM1 is called as IBM Planning Analytics, and the version is 10.2.2. So nowadays, everything is based on cloud. So even IBM came up with the cloud-based software. Before, when it was Cognos TM1, it was purely standalone application. I say standalone in the sense somebody has to install TM1 software on their local machines, or they need to be installed on a server, and clients would connect to that server and they can do the planning activities. But with the recent changes in the way the market changed, IBM came up with the cloud TM1 solution or a planning analytics solution. Now in the market, planning analytics is cloud-based solution as well as desktop-based or standalone application. The cloud-based application, IBM provides you entire support. When I say entire support, the installation, maintenance, software upgradation, different tools upgradation related to the TM1 or the planning analytics will be held or will be taken control by the IBM. Any questions till now?
No.
Oh.
Okay. Planning analytics is, we have different tools in the market. One is called the Cognos TM1. See, all these softwares are falling into a single bucket called enterprise software application or software tools. So we have different software tools available in the market, whether it could be called the Anaplan, Hyperion, or Cognos TM1 / Planning Analytics, or it could be Oracle related, SAP related applications. So Oracle holds the Hyperion software or the suite, and SAP has its own ERP related tools, and IBM holds the Cognos TM1 / the Planning Analytics. And we have something called Anaplan is also available in the market, but majorly we will be discussing about two softwares when we compared with the TM1 / the Planning Analytics. And the reason for that being, these are the market leaders out and the market is majorly captured by Hyperion, later to that SAP, and then comes the Cognos TM1. Majorly, Cognos TM1 is used in financial applications. Okay, so when I say financial applications, what you can do, you can generate the PLNL reports out of that. You can generate the cash flows. You can create the balance sheets out of that. You can do the cash reserve models on that, and you can do the profitability guidance models also on the TM1. And what differentiates the TM1 with the other tools? We have, as we discussed, we have other tools in the market like Hyperion and SAP. Okay, we call SAP HANA. So what differentiates between them is Cognos TM1 / Planning Analytics application started with something called in-memory architecture. So previously, not now, maybe when they started with the version 7, at that time in the market, nobody had this technology called the in-memory architecture. So what do you mean by in-memory architecture, and what is so special so that people will come to the TM1? The reason for the people coming to the TM1 is because of it's having one of the core features as the in-memory architecture. When I say in-memory architecture, it the TM1 as a model or as a software does not store anything on the hard disk while processing. So what does it do is that it would put everything in the memory and do the transactional level processing from memory and into the memory. So what is the advantage is because the processing speeds will be much faster when we compare to the disk based processing. So I think a guy who has experience on the BI models or Cognos BI will definitely appreciate the way the processing will happen. A BI, let's say that a BI model will take 3 hours to transform the data, but the same can be achieved in the TM1 in minutes of the time. So we are talking the speeds in that range where your time will be less, at the same time the fastness will be more. And moreover, all the applications are fail-safe applications. So when I say fail-safe applications, even though you use the memory, because of some reason, because of the load or because of any other external reasons, the server gets down. Still, IBM came up with a solution where your data will not be lost because you're storing everything in memory. When your system comes up, you have a question saying that, oh, my memory is lost because it gets refreshed again. So what happened to my data? The fail-safe plan is already created by IBM saying that, okay, you don't guys worry when you restart your system because of some reason, then you will always have the data available to you. This is the main difference or core component of the TM1 when we compare it with the other applications. Later, as the years progressed, people saw the advantage of the plan, the engine that TM1 has, which is the in-memory built engine, and other tools like the SAP had implemented that. Now people call the SAP as a SAP HANA as an inbuilt memory architecture. Apart from that, TM1 will come up with, or TM1 has the other components which differentiates it from the other market leaders. We'll slowly discuss about that. So any question till now?
No. No.
Okay, so since we are talking about in-memory architecture here, which is mainly driven by the RAM or the memory, so on what memory you should have it, or to what extent you need to have it, minimum memory. So it starts with something like organization, depending upon how big the organization is. So based upon that, IBM came up with different softwares or the tuned software related to the different business sizes. When you come to the small businesses, they have something called IBM Cognos Express is there, which will suit to the small businesses. And for the bigger companies or like a larger multinational companies, they have the Cognos TM1 / the Planning Analytics software available. So the requirement depends upon the memory requirement, depends upon the size of the organization. It has been well defined by the IBM, saying that okay, I need this much of memory to process my application. So majorly, we are not dealing with the applications related to the small companies. We are dealing with the applications related to the large versus large and the multinational companies. So the memory will start with 256 gigabytes, and it will go, like 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte of memory. So I have seen an application which contains 2 terabyte of memory available to the TM1 server. And also TM1 server is based on client server architecture model, or you can call it as a SOA architecture. So what does it do is that your software can be installed on one of the server, and users can connect through the browser to the TM1 and do the inputs data on the server. So this is what the client server architecture is all about. And moreover, Cognos TM1 application is OLAP processing multi-dimensional tool. So when I say OLAP, OLAP means online analytical processing. So we have something called as OLAP is there, and we have OLTPs are there. So when I say OLTP, the full form of that is online transactional level processing, and OLAP is online analytical processing. So there is a stark difference between different type of OLAPs and the OLTP. The example you can refer is Oracle. Any Oracle database you take it, it is called the OLTP processing. And if you take TM1, or if you take ClickView, or if you take the SAP HANA, those are called the OLAP tools. And the reason for that being, when Oracle will store the data at a transactional level, and OLAP tools will store the data at a consolidation or at an aggregated level. So this is the major difference between these tools. And if you go into much details, you will be able to see that the report generation on OLTP tools are not that easy, but OLAP tools is much easier, and you will be dealing with huge amounts of data on the OLAP systems, because you will get data from the data warehouses, and so many so many databases will become data warehouse, and from data warehouse you will be extracting data to the OLAP tools. So it has huge amount of data to be processed. So those are the other differences, but mainly TM1 is based on the, or it takes the consolidated data. So what is, from a practical standpoint, what is OLTP versus the OLAP? Let's say that you log into any e-commerce site and you are trying to purchase a book. So what generally a transactional level processing will happen is, you select a book, and they will charge you some price, and if there are any logistics for that, they will charge you for that, and you get a total amount out of that. But when you go back to the back end, for that particular profile, each record will be created, saying that okay, this guy selected this record, okay, and then the price for this product is X amount. Later to that, a record will be generated to send it to the address where the user will be available. So all these records will combine to form something single transactional level information, saying that okay, person purchased a book on the e-commerce site. So you have, for a single activity, you have multiple level, detailed level transactions will be happening on the OLTP systems. So generally OLTP systems are Oracle based systems. So when you come to the OLAP, it doesn't matter what a person perceives from a company perspective, what TM1 thinks or what data will come to the TM1 in case of this is, see, in an organization, when they want to do the financial analysis, they don't care about a single person. What they do is that okay, I have X book is there, and that book, how many books have been sold? That is what they are mainly interested in. So what they do is that they consolidate all the transactional level data, saying that okay, we have purchased, or the users purchased 10,000 records, or 10,000 books, and the cost of 10,000 books is X amount of dollars. So the X amount of dollars will flow to the TM1 rather than each transactional level record. And what TM1 will do is that once it gets the X amount of dollars on the TM1, it try to analyze and see that, okay, how much is the profit that I generated out of the sales out of that book, and what is my fixed cost on that book. All the data will be generated, and people will analyze and do different kind of modeling on the data and see that where I can increase my profit, okay, and see that how it will help me in the organization. So we spoke about different models that exist on the TM1, like you can do the budgeting, and majorly TM1 is used for planning, budgeting, forecasting, and reporting. This is the core work that people will do when they deploy tools or when they deploy Cognos TM1 models on their environment for doing budgeting, planning, forecasting, and for reporting. But that this tool can do lot of things, like it can do the cash reserve models, it can generate the cash flow statements, it can generate the balance sheets out of it, it can also generate the profitability models out of that. So these are the other advantages that you would get from the Cognos TM1. Any question?
I have a question. So, what are the other? I mean, there are more financial sectors. I mean, in US, if you can see, a lot of my financial sectors and large companies. So, what are the other tools those companies will use for the reporting purpose? I mean, there are other BI tools like Tableau, that kind of tools, or
Okay, see, whether you refer to the financial companies or you refer to the any other organization based upon healthcare industry, if you take it, right, they also
okay,
use the TM1 tool, and any organization can use the TM1 tool. So what, apart from the TM1 tool, the other market leaders are being Hyperion, which is owned by Oracle, and the other one being the SAP. The SAP tools are there, enterprise level tools are there to do all these activities.
okay. For Hyperion, it is there is a dependency, I guess. I guess TM1 is non-dependency tool where we can use everywhere. Correct?
Correct, correct. So that's the reason I said that it's called an application versus the tool, right? Like TM1 can stand on itself by the raw data, but other tools cannot stand on itself by the raw data.
Okay.
So we will go into more details about how it is able to do where other tools were not able to do in the market. So we can see about those things. Okay.
Sure.
So TM1 is either 64-bit software or it is 32-bit software. It depends upon what you are purchasing, but nowadays most of the customers will purchase 64-bit software. So when you purchase 64-bit software, you need to have 64-bit software environment on your machines where you are installing. But when you purchase 32-bit software, you can install that on 32-bit environment as well as on 64-bit environment. But 64 cannot be installed on the 32-bit environment. Okay, so we have discussed something like, it's a OLAP tool and it is 64-bit multi-dimensional tool. Okay, so when I say multi-dimensional tool, here in Cognos TM1 environment / the planning analytics environment, we'll be seeing something like, or people will be saying something like cubes, dimensions, and elements. Okay, so you store the data in the cubes. So your storage points are the cubes, and a cube is created by combination of the dimensions. So dimensions are combined to create a cube, and dimension contains elements on that. If you think something like cube can be a container where you store the data, okay, and the structure out of that container is made out of the dimensions, and each dimension is or contains lot of elements are there. And we discussed something like in-memory architecture, client-server architecture. We also discussed about something called calculation engine. So every business have the logics around how you can achieve certain things. Like for example, right, like, how do you achieve your revenue? What calculation needs to be implemented to achieve a revenue on the goods that got produced? So all these calculations, the business logics that will be running around the data will be created using something called TM1 rules. So TM1 rules are nothing but the TM1 business logics of the business where it can be implemented on that environment. And we can also implement the TM1 business logics using the processes. So processes is a, we will discuss more about the processes, but I want you guys to understand at this point of time saying that calculation engine mainly refers to the TM1 rules here. We will go much detailed level on what TM1 rules, what it contains, and how it is useful in creating different ways of, or arriving to different ways of solutioning. So what TM1 has? TM1 has different tools available to it to process the data. Those are called the TM1 Architect, TM1 Perspective, Performance Modeler, Cognos Insights, Scorecarding, Planning Analytics for Excel, and Planning Analytics for Workspace. So all these tools depends upon what the environment is made up of. Like if you go to certain companies will provide you something called as the performance modeler, and they will not provide you other tools, like the Cognos Insight, the Scorecarding, TM1 Architecture Perspective. It all depends upon the organization. It is the holistic list of what tools are available in the Cognos TM1 environment. If you are a developer who do the administration, TM1 roles are generally combined into, the person who does the development activity will do the administration activity also. And moreover, generally, I'm not talking about very big companies which they have the good number of TM1 resources, saying 10, 12 or something like that. But other than that, 80% of the companies in the market where TM1 softwares are there will be having a maximum 2-member team, or or 3-member team. And those guys are responsible to do the development, and those guys are responsible to the administration. So majorly you will not be having the role differentiating it, saying boss, you are the administration versus you are the developer. Both the activities will be done by the person who is employed in the organization on the Cognos TM1. And we spoke about something called as the cubes, and we spoke about dimensions, and we spoke about the elements, and all those we will be able to create, how we create a dimension, how you develop a cube, and how you're going to add the elements manually as well as to the process. We will be looking into that. So when we come back to the TM1, as I said that it has a tool called TM1 Architect. 80% of the developers in the market will use TM1 Architect as a tool to do the development. It provides you all the facilities to create the processes, rules, cubes, dimensions, elements. So with the TM1 Architect, you can do all these activities. Okay, and we have something called TM1 perspectives is there. So majorly TM1 perspectives, it's a TM1 architect plus something extra is equal to TM1 perspective. So it means that whatever you can be doing on TM1 architect, the same thing can be done on the TM1 perspective, but majorly in the practical world, TM1 perspective will be used by the super users, because the environment that TM1 perspectives will look similar to the Excel sheet. All kind of development that you want to do, you can do it as a basis of Excel on that. So it would be more comfortable for the super users to do. So generally, who are the super users? Super users are the users in the organization where they would be doing much of the administration activities, plus they would be doing the normal activities that the other users are doing it. So they will control the environment. Generally what happens is that as the application grows and organizations does not want to employ additional resources on the TM1 side, from a development / the administration perspective, they would let go some of the activities done or implemented by the developers / the administrator to the business users. So they select a group of users which are called the super users, and they tell that, okay, you can take these activities. For example, they can run the processes and they can do the version rollovers. All kind of activities can be done by them. So for that, they prefer to have the perspective rather than architect. And the reason being, perspective is much nearer to the their world of Excel, because all the business users, mainly the financial groups, are more closely related to the Excel. So it mimics the way that Excel is there. So people will prefer to use the perspectives, and most of the administrators will be giving permissions for the users to use the perspectives. So performance modeler. So when IBM came up with the cloud solution, they, Cognos TM1, as we discussed, that it's a standalone application where it had the development environment as TM1 architect. Okay, when they move to the cloud environment, they want to have some tool where they can do the development activities, because they are not interested to port the same TM1 architect to the cloud environment. Instead of that, IBM came up with a solution called performance modeler, where they will be, users will be connecting, or you don't need to install anything on your environment. Rather than that, you will be given a web link. Using that web link, you can connect to the server and do the development activities. But in case of standalone applications, the software will be installed on your machine, and you will be using the TM1 architect to the development / do the administration activities. But if your organization is going in a path where they want to use the performance modeler, there you will be having a link where you can use that and then connect to the application directly and do the activity. So mainly when IBM went to the cloud solutions, they went to the performance modeler. But till now in the market, you have access to the architect as well as the performance modeler. And Cognos Insight. Cognos Insight is a tool which will help you to derive the insights out of the data. Okay, so what they do is that, let's say that business will give you saying that, okay, we have the sales data with you. Can you infer some of the details out of that?
Vishnu, I lost your screen.
Are you?
Yeah,
okay.
Now I can see. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so we are discussing about Cognos Insight. So Cognos Insight is a tool which will help to identify. Are you guys have any problem?
No.
Okay. So Cognos Insight is a tool which will help to pull different insights out of the data. So generally what business will do is that, boss, you have the sales data with you. Can you come up some insights out of that, saying, okay, particular region is doing very good, particular region is not doing good, and particular branches are doing very good, but certain branches are not doing very good. So all these insights can be derived from the Cognos Insight tool. So what's the difference? The same thing you can do it with the Cognos TM1 / the performance modeler. So what is the big difference between the Insight versus the TM1 architect / the performance modeler? Cognos Insight is mainly targeted for the business analyst. So where you have different sources of data available, like your Excel, it can accept as a data source, or it can accept a cube as a data source, or it can accept the ODBC connection as a data source, and you can pull the data and derive insights out of that. You can create a graph out of that. So what TM1 do, or the tool will do inside, is that when you pull the data and do the mappings of, okay, you have certain regions are available to you. So you can map the regions and then you can create the processes. So the processes are created by the tool itself and then transform the data to your environment where you want to do the analysis. So all the automations are done on the data, or the tool will do the automated TI processes to process the data, so that you can create a graphs or do some kind of scenario modeling on that data. But the main reasons, then why you have the TM1 architect with you, with which you can do everything using Cognos Insight. The problem comes with the amount of the data that you will be having and the customizations that are available on the TM1 architect versus Cognos Insight. So what you can say is that this is mainly the lightweight application of the TM1, which can be used by the business analyst to process the data. Like a sales data, it doesn't require huge amount of processing versus it doesn't require customizations. Like for example, right, you might get a data saying that I need to join X versus Y, and then I need to generate a data out of that to generate an insight. Your Cognos Insight application will not be able to do that. It requires the standard or the simpler way of data availability, and no customizations need to be implemented in that, so that you can process the data. So in that cases, generally these Cognos Insight tools are used, and it is mainly targeted for the business analyst. Okay, and scorecarding, and this will be used to generate different scorecards available to you, and we'll try to understand what it is from TM1 scorecarding perspective as we go much into the details. So we have something called planning analytics for Excel. So what generally in any organization, if you take, your customers or your clients will be either your accounting teams or your FP&A groups, which are called the financial planning analytics groups, or it could be analytics, or it could be med analytics, or it could be logistic group. So different business users are available to you guys. Okay, and all these people are mainly into Excel, like they live and they do all their activities on the Excel. Generally people will have a tendency, if in the what the these kind of clients will think daily is that, okay, if you are pushed with a new application, they don't want to observe those applications, and then, or they don't want to take those applications. The reason for that being, people have a mentality saying that, because you need to learn so many things, or you need to try to understand how those things will work. So what IBM came up with is something like, okay, I will try to mimic everything near to your Excel, so that you guys can feel much closer to the environment you guys are working. So for that reason, IBM created a solution by the name Planning Analytics for Excel. This particular solution was developed mainly keeping in mind related to the cloud related applications. Okay, this was started as a cloud related solution, but later point of time, because of the popularity of this solution, they started providing the same thing on your standalone application. But Planning Analytics for Excel is a add-in tool which is available on Excel. Like you will get an add-in tool, and that add-in tool will be used to process the data on the TM1. Like you can extract the data from the cube. If a user have access to PNL cube, he want to do some kind of analysis. When the user connects from the planning analytics for Excel, he can extract the data out of that, and he can do the analysis out of the data. To the external world, right? Like you have all the data available in the cubes. To the external world, how you can provide access to the data on the from the TM1 cubes. Okay, so for that the IBM or Cognos has built different solutions for that. One would be called the TM1 Web, okay, which users can access the reports, or they can access the cube views, and generate or pull the data out of that. They have something called TM1 contributor is there. So what the contributor is, you have a certain number of users and you have a supervisor with you, and you want the controlled access to the users. You don't want any user to input the data without the knowledge of you. So how it can be, the relations, how you maintain the supervisor versus the user who's sitting on the machine is controlled. So that kind of workflow mechanisms are developed on the TM1 contributor. So TM1 Web is there for the user. user interface perspective, and you have TM1 contributor is there, which have the authorizations of supervisor versus this person who is sitting at a user level and inputting the data. You can control that person, but on the TM1 web you will not be able to control, but you can only do one thing. You can either provide access to that particular cell, or you don't provide the access to the to particular cell point where you can enter the data. On the TM1 web you can do only this, but on the contributor level you can restrict the users, by providing a supervisor, and you can control all of that. All that can be achieved on the TM1 contributor. Okay, and they also have something called planning analytics for Excel. So majorly planning analytics for Excel is not for all the users available on the TM1. Okay, it is available, or it will be used only for the users who would be doing analysis on the data, right? So let's say that I have a business user versus the business analyst who want to analyze the capex data. Okay, for that you can provide a report to them, but report will the report will be developed based on certain parameters and certain design flow. Okay, if I want to analyze the data in a different parameters, I'll not be able to do that. So to provide a solution in that scenarios, they developed a tool by the name Planning Analytics for Excel, where on the Excel they can do all kind of, they sit on the Excel, and you can pull the data, you do all kind of activities on the Excel on the TM1. And the other advantage is that you can write back the data from Excel to the TM1 back. Okay, today you came up with a solution, and you derived some calculations, and your business is happy with the way that you derived the calculations, and they're okay with that. You can write back the data by the user directly into the TM1 using Planning Analytics for Excel and Planning Analytics for Workspace. Okay, so this is the latest version of IBM tool, which is called Planning Analytics for Workspace. The major advantage when you compare to the TM1 web, because we are talking about something called TM1 web, where you can generate the report, or you can see the data of the cube on the TM1 web. Okay, and there is something called plus is there. So what you can consider that Planning Analytics for Workspace is equal to TM1 web plus something extra. Okay, that is what is Planning Analytics for Workspace is all about. The extra is, in the TM1 world, when you create a cube, it's a static in nature because it's a container, right? So your container is always static in nature. But tomorrow one business user want to analyze the data based upon the attribute, right? So generally attributes in the sense, for a car you take, there are different attributes are there, right? Like, your car has a color, your car has a model, your car has an engine. All these are attributes for that particular car. You want to analyze the data based upon your engine type. Okay, what kind of engines are being sold in different kinds of market in the world versus in a region versus in specific territory. So I want to do analysis on the attributes. Okay, but TM1, when you construct the model, let's say that your model is being constructed 6 years back, and you would not have seen at that point of time when you're doing a development, okay, why would anybody want to do the analysis based upon engine types? So because of that, I did not consider that as my parameter for doing the modeling. I would have created that as an attribute, and whenever you open a model related to a specific car, it will say that, okay, my attribute is in a specific engine type, so I can see that. But I don't know how to do analysis on that. That's not possible until unless you extract the data and then you put it on the Excel sheets and do all kind of massaging to generate some kind of analysis out of that. So what IBM did is that to overcome these kind of problems, they came up with a solution called virtual dimensions. Okay, or virtual elements can be created. Virtual dimensions is all about you can create a dimension out of your model. Like, as I said, that your cube is a container which is already fixed in nature. You will not be able to change anything once you create that. Today your cube is created with 6 dimensions. Like, for example, right, your P&L cube is there. In the P&L cube, you will be having the information related to your cost centers. It could be related to your specific month, or it could be related to your version, and if you have anything related to the department and you would like to see about the department, you will put that as a department. You will be having a measure element. So this is fixed for the organization, and all the reports would have been generated based on this cube. Tomorrow, your business want to do the analysis on different parameters than what you have. So how you will be able to do that without changing the existing model? Because it's not as simple as that. Okay, boss, you create a new PNL cube and then do the analysis out of that. It's not that easy to do that. So what IBM has provided as a solution out of this is that, okay, we'll provide you something called as the virtual dimensions. So how you can build the virtual dimension, you'll be able to see. At the same time, what is a virtual dimension here is that you can take your attribute as your engine type. Now on the same model, your model is intact, but when you come to your planning analytics for workspace, you can play on that workspace, saying that, okay, I take my attribute and I create that as a virtual dimension. Now I can slice the data on the existing cube, which is my PNL cube, and then do the analysis out of that data. I can generate a report. I can see what insights are there out of that report, out of that data. So all these slice and dice methods can be possible only on the planning analytics for workspace. And majorly, not all the business users would like to do analysis on the data using the workspace. Only the people who are at a top level will be able to, or it's a target customers are generally the people who sit at a top level, where you have a director level accounting is there, he want to do some kind of analysis over there. So for those people, these particular tools are targeted. Any question till now?
So you told perspectives is architect plus something, right?
Yes.
So can we do everything we do in architect on perspectives, like setting up security, running process, turbo integrator, everything, or like writing rules and stuff like that, or like is it limited?
No, you can do everything. You can do everything.
But perspective is just kind of looking like spreadsheet, right?
Yep, it looks like a spreadsheet, I agree. But when you click on, there is something called the Explorer will be there, right? When you click on that, it will be opening a dialog box where you would be seeing what you do on the TM1 architect. Okay. So all kind of activities that you do on the TM1 architect can be implemented on the perspectives. Plus, when the business user comes to the environment of the Excel, he feels very happy and he wants to do on that Excel. If you give him a different environment, it is very new to him. He's not interested to put some effort on that and do activities on that. So for that reason, they created an environment of Excel on the perspectives, on the architect. So it is TM1 architect plus something extra, which is nothing but the environment that you look and feel and see, which would be equivalent to your Excel, right? So just to overcome that hump, they created that. And let's say that, right, for example, if you want to do some analysis from a developer perspective, right, because something will happen like this. Okay, today business says that, boss, I have in all the accounts for past 6 months X number of dollars are there, but today if I see on my particular month, or today current month if I take, I have X plus Y dollars are there. But for the historical months, I have X dollars is there, but now I'm getting X plus Y dollars. Can you let me know why I have plus Y dollars came, or why I got extra amount of dollars? So what I will be doing from a developer / the admin perspective is that I will go back and use the perspective as a tool rather than TM1 architect. And the reason for that, because TM1 architect will provide you the same view as TM1 perspectives will provide, but the difference is that you will not be export the parameters that you created to export the data, right? So for that, you need to create a view out of that, and then you need to, if you want to export that Excel, that data to the Excel, either you can write a TI process out of that view and then dump the data to your file and do the analysis. Okay, that is one way. The other way is that if you use the perspective, you have something called snapshot is there, and you have something called slice is there, where you can use these tools depending upon what you want to do, because each has a different functionality. Based upon that, you can select any one of them and can export the data out of that and can do the analysis out of that. Okay, so those are the advantages that you get it out of the perspective. And also there is something called active form is there. Okay, you can build active forms out of the perspectives, but you will not be able to build the active forms out of the TM1 architect. When you come to the reporting side, you will be able to do much more activities on the perspectives rather than TM1 architects. That is what extra is all about.
So are you telling perspectives is a developer tool or an end user tool? Like, because if perspective can be used by end users, then what is the purpose of planning analytics for Excel?
See, planning analytics for Excel is cloud-based solution which has evolved out of, after the perspective. So in the older days, you don't have anything called IB, planning analytics for Excel. It's a cloud-based solution which have come from your perspectives only. Okay, so we don't know when IBM will come back and say that okay, we are stopping the perspectives application from tomorrow, because we have given you already the planning analytics for workspace is there, right? You can do all kind of activities that you do on the perspectives versus your planning analytics for Excel. And the major reason for giving you the planning analytics for Excel on the cloud is because the pricing. Okay, so when you install the software on your local desktop environment, the pricing is much more when you compare to that when you create an add-in out of the the software. So for the pricing perspective and for the cloud perspective, they have moved from the standalone to the IBM planning analytics for Express. Or you can say something called, okay, is TM1 perspectives is same as IBM planning analytics for Excel? Yes, but only the difference, it's a cloud-based solution. Okay, and your pricing is much lower when you compare to the TM1 perspective. TM1 perspective need to be installed on different machines. It is it's too costly. If you want to give the particular application for 25 users, it would take huge amount of dollars for the business. But if you want to provide for the 25 number of users IBM planning analytics for Excel, it is much cheaper. So that's the reason people are moving from standalone applications to the cloud-based applications, which would be cheaper. Okay.
Yeah. So my question is, we are already on planning analytics for cloud, but we are using perspectives like which I just which we publish from which we publish through Performance Modeler, which the users can see on TM1 Web, and they also have TM1 planning analytics for web, planning analytics for Excel. So do we need to give them both, or are we like can we consolidate to one application?
So are you saying that you have Performance Modeler with you and you have the planning analytics for Excel, and you are asking that which one you want to provide access to the users?
Yeah, I came in when all these are already set up. I'm just doing the keep the lights on. I don't know anything about TM1. But
okay, so in this scenario, you will give access to the IBM planning analytics for Excel. You will not be giving access to the Performance Modeler. Performance Modeler is for the administrator / the developer.
I'm
but
telling
you for Excel, you can
when every year we publish some perspective sheets on TM1 Web.
Right.
So what can that be done via TM1 for Excel, or sorry, planning analytics for Excel, or they both are different?
So if you want to publish the reports, you can do it using the TM1 perspectives. You can use it doing the TM1 Performance Modeler. You can do it using the planning analytics for Excel. Okay, but the problem is that, see, you can, let's say that today you gave access to the user. Okay, boss, you have access, you can go and upload the sheet. So generally what happens, okay, in the practical world, what happens? Let's say that you have 500 users who are sitting on the machines, and then they are doing the budgeting at a particular budget cycle period. Now user came up with some design and then he uploaded the web sheet. Okay, so generally what will happen is that during the high level transactional level data processing, your servers will get down. And the reason, because once you upload, what happens is that in the backend you are taking an Excel object and converting into TM1. And your Excel is a Windows based application, but your TM1 is a Java based application. So internally there are so many conversions will happen, and then you will generate a object which will be suitable to the TM1 environment. Okay, and most of the times we have seen is that if there are huge number of users sitting on the machine and entering the data, and you try to publish the report, then you know there are fair amount of chances that you will get the memory leaks. Once you get the memory leaks, your server will get down. Okay, it's a tragic situation when people are there on the system and then they don't have the system available to enter the data during the budget cycle. So we will restrict it. But in a normal days, you can give access to the user, but always it's a good practice to restrict the users to upload the files to the system. Okay, yes, you can give it, yes, you can give it, but it should be controlled in the network.
Okay.
Okay, so now we are discussing about the standalone application versus the planning analytics, right? Like TM1 moved from standalone application to the planning analytics an application or planning analytics tool. Okay, so when they moved that, they have certain aspects under consideration. So one is the cloud-based solution they want to provide with the new environment they are setting up, and they want to move out of the Windows based application, right? You know, your Cognos TM1 software is built on the .NET application. On the good old days, you used to install the .NET application. You know, some .NET frameworks were there to install the, before you install the TM1 software, you will install the .NET framework related components. Later to that, you will install the TM1 software so that it can work out of that. So TM1 was based on the Windows related .NET framework. Okay, when IBM want to move to the planning analytics, they thought that it is better to move to the open environment rather than the Windows based, so they moved to the Java based solution or Java based tool. That's the shift from the technical perspective from Cognos TM1 to the IBM planning analytics. And also with the IBM planning analytics solution, they came up something called the virtual dimensions. Okay, which I told you that you can start analyzing the data based upon the attributes now by slice and dice, like an dimension. Like if you want to analyze the data based on your salary account, you can do that right now, but you can't do the analysis on the data based upon the type of engine. But going forward, if you have moved to the IBM planning analytics solution, you can do that. That's the difference between the in-house standalone application versus the IBM planning analytics cloud-based solution. Okay, with the recent changes in the IBM software, what they are doing is that they want to move out of the Cognos TM1 environment, and they want to provide the IBM planning analytics software as part of the in-house installation also. Like whatever you can do on the cloud, they are trying to mimic the same thing on the desktop. Okay, so it means that they are moving out of the Windows based software application to the Java based. Even the cloud will be Java based, even your desktop software will also be Java based. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how far they were able to reach it, but my company has been there on the planning analytics from ages, so we are using that. But you know, the Java based application is much smoother from a web perspective, and from, you know, the way you access the data and all those things is much better than your .NET based software application which they had on the older days. Any questions? Okay, we have been talking about Cognos TM1 or the IBM planning analytics. So what does it contain? The typical TM1 application contains something called the application tier, the web tier, the client tier, developer tier, and TM1, whether it is Cognos TM1 or the planning analytics, will always come with the sample applications. You know, they already have the sample applications like the Go stores. They have this, you know, PNL related samples are already available to you. If you want to do some analysis on that and try to understand how the TM1 works, you can point your TM1 software to the samples, and then you can learn something out of that. Okay. So all these are freely provided applications or the models for the TM1 developers / the administrators. So when we come back to the application tier, we have something called the admin server, TM1 server, and the TM1 tools. So what is TM1 admin server? So generally what you do is that when the TM1 software is installed or the planning analytics software is installed by the IBM, you have some file by the name tm1s.cfg. So tm1s.configuration file. This file will be used to map to your local environment, to your local port number, and the server name you want to have it. Apart from that, they have so many other parameters are there. But to start the TM1 software, you need to map the server name, you need to put the port name on that, and you need to mention your local host on that. Okay, so you can open the team. We will understand about all these things as we go further on that. At this point of time, for this today's call, we are trying to understand from a bird's eye view of what it is from a Cognos TM1 perspective / the IBM Planning Analytics solution. So we will install the TM1 on the environments. We will create the TM1 server instance. We will map the port numbers. We'll put the local host, and we will start the TM1 servers on our local environments as part of the activities. Okay, we'll know much about that. So this TM1 admin server is the server which will be running in the background, which will help you to create different instances on the TM1. So you can think something like TM1 server is the TM1 admin server is the major process related to the TM1, and all the instances you would be creating out of the admin server or the child processes. Like you create the instance by the name of TM1 dev, that is one instance, and TM1 UAT is one instance, TM1 prod is another instance. All these three instances can be set up on one admin server, or it can be set up on multiple admin server. Generally, depending upon the organization size, applications, they will either create one admin server or they will create multiple admin server. The reason being, let's say that your prod server is also sitting on one admin server, and because of some reason your admin server is brought down. Okay, all your prod applications will be brought down. So generally they do something like, okay, let's put the dev and UAT server on one local host, and then we'll separate we'll install the TM1 prod on the different box, so that if one gets down, nobody cares about the dev or the UAT environment, but people care about the prod environment. Okay, so that's the way, as a part of a best practice, people will do. And we talked about TM1 server. So we talked about something like that. You have a server installation which will be made, and then clients will connect and then try to input the data, right? So that's what the TM1 server is all about. And TM1 tools. TM1 tools are the developer related tools, and the insight and all those stuff we already spoke about that. These are mainly fall under a bucket called the application tag. So from a user's perspective, what they have to enter the data on the TM1, as we said that TM1 web they have it, TM1 contributor they have it, either one of them they can use it to enter the data on the TM1. Okay, so which is called the web tier application. Okay, so all the TM1 web and contributor falls under the TM1 web application tier. So for the TM1 web, you have application gateway, application server, TM1 web, and the operational console. Okay, so when you have the web application on you, there should be some server which should be running on the background. That is what your TM1 application server. If you are the developer who are maintaining the standalone application on your environment, on your company, then you are the person who is responsible to maintain the admin server. You are the person who is responsible to maintain the TM1 application server. Okay, today, some users come up and say that, okay, boss, today, my TM1 web application is very slow. The response is very slow. Okay, so then what you do, you go back and then bounce the TM1 application server. So it is the duty of developer / the administrator to bounce those servers if you are the 1 person or 2 person team. And TM1 operational console. So what is TM1 operation console is that this is mainly developer related tool. So generally what happens is that when you write a process is the one which help you to extract the data, transform the data, and load the data into the cubes. Okay, so which we call as a turbo integrator processes. You are running a process, because of some reason the process should complete in 10 minutes, but it have been running from ages. What you do, okay, you have the operational console where you can go back and check if you feel that that server is not working as per your expectations. You can kill that server. Okay, if if you know, let's say that you don't have operation console, what you would have done, your process has been running continuously for ages. What option you have? You don't have any other option except to bring down the server. Okay, to overcome that problem, they came up with a tool where all the threads related to the application are available for the administrator/developer to kill those threads, so that you can maintain the stability of the application. What will happen if you run for, you know, you are running your TI process for 24 hours? Okay, you will try to occupy a lot of memory out of that, and you will not be having sufficient memory for the TM1 server to have it. Then TM1 server will get down. To avoid these problems, you have these tools so that the administrator can maintain the system stability. Okay, you have client tier like the Cognos TM1 Perspective, Insight, and TM1 APIs. So what is TM1 API is, let's say that you have developed a solution slash the model on the Cognos TM1 or the IBM Planning Analytics. You created a model where you took your raw data from your source, and then you designed or developed a model out of the data, and you created a insight out of that. Now you want to you know, have you can show that data in a different graphics. What you can do at that point of time is that you can connect to a Java application.
I have a doubt. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, for this development, just now we are discussing about developing the graph or any kind of development. So for this, what we are using, any kind of we use any technical language, or
No, you don't use any technical language. So on the TM1 web, right, you want to have some graphs to show, you know, you want to show some pie diagrams or something you want to show over there. You develop them on the Excel sheet. You can publish that on the TM1 web. There is no external, you know, software that you need to use it here to develop a report on that TM1.
okay.
Okay, it's simple. Excel, develop something on that and publish on the environment so that all the users on your environment can see it. Okay. So
Cool.
TM1 APIs are the, you know, these APIs helpful to connect to the different Java applications or any other application. They provide a different API where you can connect and then pass the TM1 data to those applications, so that those applications can display, whether it could be Java based applications or any other applications. It doesn't depend upon the you know, language those applications have been written. These APIs can be used to communicate the data, you know, communicate between them. And developer tier, we discussed about TM1 architect and TM1 performance modeler. Mostly, you know, in the developer world, people will use TM1 architect rather than the performance modeler. And as I said, that we have sample databases are available on the TM1 environment, where you can see how applications can be built, and once you build it, how they will be appearing, and you know, you can do some kind of analysis and try to understand how things moves on the TM1 side. Okay, we have been talking a lot on, you know, the TM1 perspectives, TM1 IBM Planning Analytics for Excel. Okay, so this is what the IBM Planning Analytics environment looks like. Okay, so I have marked something like a web publish. So if you see the buttons, you have it. See, what will happen is that you know, when you purchase the IBM software slash the IBM Planning Analytics software, they will provide you an add-in tool, and the add-in tool need to be installed on your environment. Once you installed on your environment, you will get something called as the IBM Planning Analytics tool as your add-in. So once you click on that, you will get a, you know, ribbon like this, which says that you know, you have a connect button, you have task pane options, and so forth. All these details will be there. Okay, when you click on the connect, it will show you the or you need to map. First, what you need to do is that you need to map your servers. So once you map your servers to this IBM Planning Analytics add-in, then you can, you know, once you mapped it, you're connecting to the solution or the model that is available on the different environment. Once you do that, you know, here on the right hand side, if you see, there is something called the what do you call you know, IBM window will come up on the right hand side behind the plus color. Sorry for you know, it's not properly pasted here. So behind that, you can see something is being appearing like Go scorecards, hierarchy, test cubes. All you guys are able to follow what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay, so on behind this plus window, you have something called the representation showing the cubes and all those stuff. So once you're able to connect to the software solution, you will get this window where you can select cube and where you can select views out of that. And if you want to pull, you can pull a report out of this particular data set. Okay, so this is where the connect button will be available to you so that you can connect to the environment. Once you connect to the environment, the right hand side window will pop up for you, which will show you all the cubes and views related to that. Okay, and let's say that you have developed a report, and a developer developed a report and he want to publish it. What you can do is that you can create a report as it has been shown on the screen. You can click on the publish button, and he will be shown that what environment he want to publish. Either it could be prod environment or dev environment, what or maybe the environment. So he can publish this particular report slash what we may call to the environment so that others can see. And apart from that, you have different tools are available for you to look into that. You will create the dynamic reports out of this. You can do the exploration out of the data, and you can create the buttons also. You can see on my screen there is something called button, run is there, which is nothing but your action buttons. So what does this button will do is that when you click on, right, like you want to version rollover. Okay, you want to give the activity of the rollover from 1 month to another month to business users. So how you can do is that you develop a report and then provide him saying that, okay, select the start versus the target month and select the cubes and all those stuff, then create a button and attach the TI process for that button. Okay, once they publish it and when they click on that button, a TI process will be running in the background and it will do whatever it's supposed to do, and the data will be generated for the user to use it. So these action buttons can be used to run a TI process. You want to move from one Excel sheet to the another Excel sheet by clicking, you can do that. You want to generate a email out of this report, you can do using a button. Buttons can be used for multiple purposes. We'll be doing all those activities at that time, and you can create a dynamic report out of the TM1. So what is a dynamic report in the sense? Reports can be two in nature, like one is the static report and another is the dynamic slash the active forms on the TM1 environment. When I say static report, let's say that today you have 100 employees in your organization. You generated a report saying that, okay, you created a row for each of the employee. For 100 employees, you have 100 IDs are there. Okay, and you have been using this particular report for a good number of days, and tomorrow after 1 year, some 10 people join the organization. So at that time, what you need to do is that you come back to the report and update 10 rows so that that report contains 110 rows now, and then you can do the analysis out of that. That is what the report is all about. So manual intervention is required whenever there is a change in the data set. In case of a report slash the active forms, what will happen is that TM1 provide you the flexibility of expanding, and it will provide you to expand the rows, and it will provide you to what you call, rows can be collapsed into okay, that things can be done. Like the main advantage that you get is that today you have 100 employees in your organization, tomorrow another new 10 resources added into your organization. Then once you change the data set on the cube level, automatically those changes are reflected on the report. Manually, you don't need to go and edit the reports. So for that, you need to create the active forms. Okay, and that active form will take care of that. So when you click on that, employees, new employee is added, automatically that employee will get reflected here. We'll build, in our course we'll build the active form, so at the time you can understand. But now what you guys can understand is that we can build the two kind of reports on the TM1 environment. One could be the static in nature, and another could be the dynamic in nature. Okay, as we discussed that, new server tree viewer is available, which is what your right hand side window for you. Okay, so what TM1 IBM Planning Analytics for Excel will provide you. These are the advantages that you have when you compare to the older versions. Okay, so it is hierarchy ready. So when they say hierarchy ready, in the sense, when you click on the all employees, whatever the view that you see on the cube side, the expanding and the collapsing all these activities that you do on your TM1 dimension, the same thing can be done on your reports. That's what they're trying to say. Shared components from PA in the sense planning analytics for workspace. So the components that are used here. So what they're trying to say is that if you have experience on planning analytics for workspace, you will be much more comfortable in planning analytics for workspace. So planning analytics for Excel will have some component share with the planning analytics for workspace, so that your current learning curve will be much lesser. 85% of perspective features, better WAN performance, because TM1 had this issue with the WAN, like you as your TM1 TM1 report size increases, the performance issues will pop up. So they did some enhancements or tune something so that you get a better performance. So these are the benefits that you get out of the latest TM1 planning analytics for Excel. Any question till now?
No.
Okay, so we spoke about something called planning analytics for workspace. How does the planning analytics workspace looks? This is what the planning analytics workspace looks. Sorry, this is the TM1 web. You can see on the top the address bar, it says TM1's web / so whenever a TM1 application is installed on the environment, or whenever you use the link, it will say TM1 web. Before that, you will be having all the host information. So you can generate the report and then you can publish it. It appears something like this. Like, you can do all kind of activities, and these are the new features that are available to you as part of new TM1 web versions. So you have something called the applications. You have something called, I think, cube views will be there. So applications means whenever you develop a report and you publish, that will be sitting under the application, and whatever the cubes that are available to you, those views for you will be available bottom saying that TM1 cube views. You want to, or a user want to, if user have access to the PNL cube and he want to see the data with respect to the account, with respect to the version, department, or with respect to the entity, he can come down and click on the TM1 cube view, and he can see or he can see what he's supposed to see. Okay, you can restrict the user access to an account level, department level, cell level. So whatever the way you want to user to see, at that you can restrict the users. So once you do that, all that will be reflected on your TM1 web interface, and you can see that you can generate different kinds of reports. Like whatever I've been showing on the screen is one kind of report where you can do it, and these are the new features that are available to you when you compare it with the older versions. Any question till now?
No.
No.
Okay, so this is what
So,
you are planning in. Yeah,
so those are the cubes right now you've shown, right? On the left
so
hand
these
side.
are not cubes, these are reports.
Oh, okay, these are Excel reports. Okay.
Okay, so this is what your planning analytics for workspace environment looks like. Okay, so when you compared with the TM1 web, right, as I said that you can do analysis based on the different elements of the TM1 which were not part of your standard processing. So these are the advantages that you have it, but in and out daily you use it. Apart from that, you can do natural language search and other activities that you could do on your Excel. So it has a chart integration, it has this self-service interactive dashboard. So what they're trying to say is that once you you have the data with you, you can select certain menu items and then create this report. You don't need to publish anything here. Out of the data that you have it on the TM1 cube, when you click on the plus symbol here, TM1 cubes available to you, and from the TM1 cubes you select certain menu items, and then this will be automatically generated for you. At the same time, what you do is that you can take this report as a screenshot or as a live live representation of it and share it with your colleague who is sitting on different part of the world versus different place, so that you can do the charts with them lively, and then make the changes accordingly based upon your understanding versus the views or your supervisor. So for that they provide integration. These whatever the things that you see are not available on the TM1 web. TM1 web you can call is mainly static in nature, but here you can do dynamically so many activities. And whatever that you do on the TM1 web, what are the interfaces that are available for the user, like the TM1 web, contributor, planning analytics for workspace, all are mobile available. Okay, so mobile ready, so you can use the Apple Store to download the app, and then you can integrate one with that, and then you can see all the web on your mobile. This is possible with the latest versions of IBM available to you guys. Okay, so we have been discussing about the TM1 models, right? So this is mainly from a developer perspective. We will be discussing that TM1 is mainly used for planning analytics. Sorry, mainly used for planning, budgeting, and forecasting. What we generally call those models as looking, forward looking. For that is either you are estimating the future, or you are forecasting for the future, or you are doing a specific time period. That's the reason they call as a forwarding models, and backward looking in the sense, once you have the data available to you, what insights you can develop out of that. That kind of models can also be built out of the TM1. So it can be used for forward looking as well as for the backward looking. So that's what we have been discussing till now. Okay, so what I try to show here is that in which applications can be built across what departments versus the industries this can be used. So as it has been shown on the screen, IBM TM1 Planning is used for budgeting, planning, forecasting. Why it has been mentioned here only this, because any organization you go, if you have TM1, these will be definitely be there. Depending upon company to company, some companies started using TM1 as a tool. So MDM in the sense metadata management. So they started using that as a metadata management. Like for example, today you have 100 employees in your organization, and 12 new members are added into the organization. So you that metadata on the TM1. You don't import that data from some other source and then maintain on the TM1. Rather than that, you can use that as the metadata on the TM1 too. So it means that some of the organizations started using the TM1 as the metadata management tool also. And some companies will use it as a profit model. Like for example, you have 100 parameters available for you in your organization, but P&L report will never show you exactly what is the profitability, what is the like you have a salary component is there and you want to develop a product. So do I need to take more employees in organization a product, or do I need to change the fixed cost so that I can enhance my profit on the organization? How these parameters can be analyzed using TM1 data, and for that people will develop the models which are known as the profitability model, so that based upon changing of certain parameters, how my profit varies. Employ more number of resources, does my profit change or my profit how I can leverage my data so that I can use this data as my scientific tool so that I can take the better decisions for the organization. That could be one. Like you have an organization which is mainly products. Like for example, you have the mobile development company. They will develop cell phones for your organization, and you have the admin department is there. You have the software application department is there, right? So they don't contribute anything from a dollar perspective. Providing services to the organization, how you will make sure that those organizations are accountable in your company? You associate a dollar amount to those services in your company. All that can be done using the models that can be implemented using the profitability model. Okay, so TM1 software is used to big companies, and as I said, that small companies use something called IBM Cognos Express. So we are not discussing or not interested in that. And it can be used across the industries like banking, financial, retail, mining. You name any industry, you can put it over there. And one advantage people will come to the TM1 is that it doesn't have any rigid structure. If you take the Hyperion application, what it does is that Hyperion application, if you want to do the capex modeling on the Hyperion application, will tell you in a specific way, okay, you follow these parameters to do the planning on your capex model. Those are hard models. I mean to say that those are, you can't change those models. You need to enter the data in the way it has been designed in that. The design doesn't come from the user, but they have a standard way of defining the model. So everybody has to develop the models under those standard way of structure. So that's the reason people will come to the TM1 environment, because it doesn't tell you, it doesn't prescribe you anything. It is the developer and the business will sit together and come up with the solutions of how we want to do the budgeting, how our budgeting cycle has to change compared to the previous years. So all these things, the flexibility is where the TM1 gets. And that is one of the reason that if you don't maintain the TM1 system, if you don't design the TM1 system, it will become a big headache to you, because it does what you're telling it. It never prescribes or suggests you anything. So if you maintain it, if you create, it will help you to have the system available for the longer periods. If a design is bad, okay, it will make sure you that the system gets done as early as possible. So it's advantage versus having that much flexibility for the developer versus the architects is also one of the issue, where people will take decisions without thinking. If you take a decision, it's bound to fail. TM1 does not provide you any wall for that, and it can be used across the departments, like your finance department, accounting, logistics, merchandise. Anywhere you want to use this department, you can use software. Okay, so what some of the comparison I try when you compare to the other tools that are available in the market, and these are the market leaders at this point of time. And as you can see, as I said, session or initial slide, that TM1 is mainly based on in-memory architecture. Later point of time, when TM1 got successful in the market, SAP started introducing that. At the time they used to call SAP HANA. I'm not sure whether now it is called as SAP BPC, but in-memory architecture was proprietary, main core concept of the TM1. Okay, and as we discussed that it has the inbuilt memory, inbuilt ETL tool is there. That's the reason it is called as a tool rather than application, because it can do extraction, it can do loading, it can do transformation. All the ETL that can be done using different tools can be done using Cognos TM1 itself. Okay, and all other things are there here. We can read and see from the other, like how many dimensions you can maintain on a cube versus you cannot maintain in other applications. You can see it. Whatever the information is available is basic in nature. So you guys can read yourself, and if you have any question, you can let me know. Okay, any questions till now? And this is just a bird's eye view of TM1 application. As we guys move forward, we will try to understand the architecture in a better way and try to look into the tools that we have it from a TM1 perspective, try to understand or try to get the context in a better way. Just a bird's eye view of what TM1 is, what it can do, and how it is influencing in the organization, and how it is different from the other tools available in the market. Any questions?
So, Vishnu, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
So, are you going to provide us with a Cognos Planning Analytics? Sorry, Planning Analytics software to install on our machine?
See, the planning analytics software is available by the IBM for a trial period. You can use it. It's there on their website. You can download that and you can install. Or installation, I will help you. The steps out of that. How do you install? But the software is available on the IBM website.
So, and what's the game plan for your, training? Are you going to build start from the scratch and build a new, an entire project, or are you going to give us a, assignment?
How things will move is that as we go across different concepts on the TM1, I'll try, I'll show on the TM1 environment, how it is done from a role perspective, creation of the dimensions, elements manually versus the automated way of doing the things. I will show you on my environment. You guys, have your environment and guys can do on your side, and I'll give you files for you to do the practice on your side. I'll give you the whatever the data is there. I'll share you the data. You guys can go ahead and then build those things. Once I build from my side, you can and try to build all those applications from your end. As we progress in between, like, once you complete certain good number of concepts, I'll give you small application where you guys can build out of that. So when you divide the activities, how it will be like today, you understood what is the concept related to the dimensions. Okay, then I'll give you some data to you. You can build the dimensions out of that, and I mean to say that you take the elements and then create a dimension out of that. I'll try to explain you how you create manually, how you create BI process. Okay, so I'll provide a sample files for you guys. You guys can go back and do the activities on your end. If you have any question, you can come back. So once you have the dimensions and you know how to build the cubes and how to develop a report and publish on the TM1 environment, once you acquire the knowledge at that level, I give you a small application where you can build the dimensions, cubes, and once you have everything, you can write a TI process out of that, extract the data out of that, and generate a report and publish on your environment. So these kind of examples I'll give you from my side. You guys can work out, either single or you guys can mingle and then create some kind of a report, and you guys can let me know when once it is ready. So in a nutshell, you will be doing hands-on from your side.
So how long will this course last? I mean, and what is going to be our schedule?
So I will share those details with you guys. Okay. So you will get information prior you guys join here. Okay. Now I'll give you a list of the topics that will be discussed during our sessions, and we'll let you know how many hours it will take, and we'll let you know what is the time available to us, and we will come to a consensus on that, and then we can move forward. I'll ask those members to share those details with you guys. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.